Why don't diamonds feel special anymore? They used to be a milestone, a checkpoint of progress, playing an active role in beating the game as a whole, being the final requirement needed to enter the nether. They were so iconic like creepers and endermen that removing diamonds would be like removing a part of what made Minecraft, Minecraft. In fact, you probably remember when you mined your first diamonds as one of the best experiences you've ever had because of how awesome it felt. And yet today, diamonds are either seen as a mediocre resource that you don't need to prioritize or a common resource that you have in fat stacks that it loses its value. So what happened? What has changed about Minecraft that made diamonds lose their legendary statuses? And which update specifically destroyed their reputation? Well, first of all, welcome back to the channel, my friends. And in today's video, we will be exploring the history of diamonds. How over the game's lifespan, diamonds went from a legendary resource that defined the game as a whole to being seen as a common occurrence not even worth mentioning today. To talk about the history of diamonds, you have to go way back in the history of Minecraft itself. Before Java Edition Beta and before Java Edition Alpha, diamonds would be added into the game in Java Edition indev, which stands for in development. They served as the ultimate resource, creating the most efficient, most durable swords, shovels, pickaxes, and axes, with other uses such as diamond hole and diamond armor being added over the next few days. Entering the alpha stages of development, diamonds would get another use as the crafting recipe for jukeboxes. This seemingly harmless addition to the game at first would turn into a catastrophic community-splitting scandalous controversy later down the line, in the form of style. And in the Minecraft beta stages, the final crafting recipe of diamond will be added before the game will be released officially: the enchanting table. This brief history outlines what made diamonds very special to begin with. Diamonds were needed for high-quality top-tier equipment. They were a requirement in the recipe for the enchanting table, essentially locking enchantments behind a diamond paywall. They were added to the game as the absolute rarest resource, which further increased its value. In fact, I'm pretty sure even back then, diamond blocks were the most popular method of obnoxiously flexing at everyone about how disgustingly rich you were. And how absolutely tasteless you are in architectural design, because Jesus Christ, that is ugly. But this begs a lot of questions. All of these recipes sound familiar, don't they? Diamonds are still used for diamond tools and diamond armor. They're still used for jukeboxes and enchantment tables even today. Despite diamonds being used for the same purposes for a decade now, surely they're still better than other resources in terms of value, right? Well, let's compare diamonds to its two neighboring resources, iron and gold. Starting with good old trusty iron. Iron is a tier below diamond. If diamond tools were an A+ in an exam, iron tools were a solid B. They were good, but not great. Sufficient enough to get you through another day, but insufficient enough to stop my Asian parents from beating the shit out of me. Iron was added alongside diamonds in indev 0.31. And yet, despite their lower efficiency when compared to diamonds, iron is seen as an extremely valuable resource today. What made their value skyrocket in recent times even though they were supposed to be the mid-tier resource? Well, let's go through each update to see what has changed about iron over the course of the game. In update 1.3.1, they would add tripwire hooks, which was a fairly alright addition, nothing too significant. In update 1.4, the spooky update, they added anvils. Anvils were absolutely game-changing to enchantments as a whole, along with the addition of enchantment books. They were so game-changing that anvils still remain as a frequently used block today. And this addition of anvils will be relevant again later in the video, so remember that. Moving on, the 1.5 redstone update was where things started to change drastically for iron. This update added activator rails, heavy-weighted pressure plates, but most importantly was the addition of hoppers as iron crafting recipes. To give you a sense as to how revolutionary this was to iron as a resource, try watching or building an automatic Minecraft farm today without hoppers and pistons. You can't. These additions skyrocketed iron as a resource. It became essential in any redstone project from 1.5 onwards. Later in the 1.8 update, they added iron trapdoors, which I just think they're neat. But everything changed once again with the arrival of 1.9, the biggest, most awful, most tragic event in Minecraft history, the combat update. iron would get another recipe in the form of shields. Shields trivialize fights against mobs and players alike. They made the player practically invulnerable to all forms of direct damage, whether it came from skeletons, creepers, or even other players. 1.14 Village and Pillage added blast furnaces, crossbows, stone cutters, and smithing tables. But most importantly was the addition of iron as a trade, making it an extremely viable method of obtaining emeralds, which could be used to obtain other rarer resources. And this is all without mentioning their already existing uses from the start. Iron tools, iron armor, flint and steel, bucket, rails, minecarts, iron doors, compasses, detector rails, pistons, shears, iron bars, and cauldrons. Comparing these usages side by side, it should be pretty clear as to why iron gradually increased in demand with each new update. In fact, iron's demand has gotten so high to the point that iron farms had to be created to keep up with the supply. Which brings another form of irony, pun intended, as to why iron eventually rose to a popularity even higher than diamonds. Their rarity, or lack thereof. An iron farm is very easy to make for a very reliable source of iron. Pretty unethical if you include the slavery aspect, but let's ignore that. And even without an iron farm, iron still remains as a very common resource to obtain. This lack of rarity would have destroyed diamond's reputation. But for iron, it made it easier for Mojang to add a variety of different crafting recipes for iron because it's so naturally abundant and easy to obtain. It lets them easily add new recipes to iron without a second thought. This led to iron eventually beating diamond in terms of popularity because iron fills a specific role in different sectors that diamond has zero control over. It fills a unique role for shields in the combat sector, it dominates the utility sector with buckets and cauldrons, and it is absolutely uncontested in the redstone sector. Diamonds didn't age as well as compared to iron and are now worse in terms of value. And with the addition of iron nuggets in caves and cliffs, solving the main issue with mining them, this overwhelming demand is not showing any signs of stopping soon. Now let's shift our attention to gold, the ingot that shines. As shiny as the like button. Be sure to hit the like button if you're enjoying the video so far. Gold was added in 0.31 indev alongside its iron and diamond competitors. They place a tier below diamond. In fact, some would even consider them lower than iron despite their higher rarity. This can all be attributed to the god-awful durability in gold equipment. Gold tools have the durability of a newborn baby with osteoporosis. Given how gold has always been inferior for tools and armor, it was practically impossible for them to compete against diamonds. So how exactly did gold find its value in the booming Minecraft economy of resources? Well, gold did have a crafting recipe for the most legendary food in the game. The golden apple, enchantments not included. Back when apples used to look like cherries with obesity, golden apples would restore your entire health bar instantly. However, it cost a whopping 8 blocks of gold, making this recipe completely unresourceful. To solve this, Mojang did the extremely controversial decision to add a crafting recipe to gold in the alpha stages of the game that would change the course of history forever. They added clocks to the game.
This is worthless.
Following this absolute shitshow of a release, Mojang would add powered rails to the game, which was a welcome change to minecart transportations. There was unfortunately one particular problem with this addition that made it pointless. I don't know what it is, but I think it remains a mystery as to why this new recipe didn't really increase the demand in gold that much. To summarize, gold was being absolutely bodied in this race against other resources, and Mojang wasn't making things any easier for them during these early stages. However, all that changed when hunger was introduced to the game. Golden apples were adjusted to be easier to craft at the cost of healing less. This change was absolutely needed and made golden apples more accessible to players. And in the 1.4 Spooky update, golden apples would further increase in usage with the addition of curing zombie villagers. But the most drastic spike in value would actually happen one update earlier in update 1.3. This was the update that added enchanted golden apples as the crafting recipe. Even if you were clad top to bottom in diamond armor with diamond weaponry, you still face the possibilities of dying in a fight because armor had its limits. Enchanted golden apples completely remove any possibilities of dying with the exception of fall damage. Their demand skyrocketed, and just like iron, a gold farm was needed for supply. These would come in the form of zombie pigment farm, which are still being used even to this day. gold has become more important than diamonds. They were absolutely broken. So broken in fact that Mojang had to step in. In update 1.9, Mojang gave the community a choice. Enchanted golden apples were breaking the game too much and something needed to change. Either they remove gold farms or remove the recipe for enchanted golden apples permanently. And with this, the community begrudgingly said goodbye to the crafting recipe. This removal of the crafting recipe was also a removal of the biggest advantage gold had over diamonds. This would have been the end for gold and it would have permanently made diamonds ahead in terms of value. And yet, gold has retained such a high demand in recent updates. Well, for starters, enchanted golden apples were gone, but they weren't the only gold foods that were available. Golden carrots were added in 1.4 and would remain as the most broken basic food in the game, with unenchanted golden apples being a weaker but still game-breaking food on its own. Then when 1.16, the Nether update hit the servers, gold took the opportunity to skyrocket once again. This update would add several new features, most notably the addition of piglins. Gold armor is required for them to be non-hostile and gold ingots are required for piglin bartering. With gold equipment now having some form of use, gold overtakes diamond once again. Not to mention, gold would play a key ingredient in the massive nuke to diamond's reputation. I think you all know what this nuke is, but let's finally go back to the original question. Why did diamonds lose their specialty? It wasn't only what changed about the game that made diamonds stop being special, it was more of the fact that diamonds didn't change at all. Iron is like the kid you met in high school that went to the gym every week after graduation and came to the reunion looking all jacked and ripped. And gold went through a full Mr. Incredible becomes uncanny meme. For a resource that's been in the game since its release, diamond doesn't really have a history like iron or gold. It has always been used for diamond tools, always been used for diamond armor, always been used for jukeboxes and enchantment tables. Diamonds hasn't gotten a single new recipe since then. We've been using diamonds for the same purposes ever since the development stages of Minecraft. And we will be using diamonds for the same purposes going forward in 1.20. They weren't legendary because of a rich history like iron or gold, because they practically had none. They were legendary for the reasons listed at the start of this video. Diamonds were legendary because they were rare. Diamonds were legendary because they are compulsory for enchantments. Diamonds were legendary because their equipment was simply the best. As the game got more and more updates, diamonds would slowly lose all three reasons as to what made them legendary to begin with. In the beta version of the game, they were added as a possible loot in mineshaft chests, which lowered their rarity a teensy tiny bit, but it overall left diamonds unaffected since mineshafts were rather rare and so mineshaft chests were even rarer. Then they added them into stronghold chests. And then they added them to blacksmith villager chests, then desert temples, then jungle temples, then nether fortresses, then end cities, then buried treasure, then shipwrecks, then toolsmith chests, and finally bastion remnant chests. These changes reduced the impact and excitement of getting diamonds. Part of what made them so awesome was the fact that you could be mining deep in a cave and at the corner of your eye notice that iconic light blue tint. Having them as loot in chests ruins the surprise. We're getting diamonds even when we're not looking for them. It makes them feel much more common than they actually are. If there's any evidence that this decreased the rarity aspect of diamonds, in the same update that Mojang added diamonds to NCT chests, they had to decrease the chances of diamonds in other chests, presumably because diamonds were appearing too frequently. Diamonds itself hasn't changed, but the game has changed to make diamonds much more common as loot. And this has caused it to lose its legendary status as a rare resource. In the words of the most controversial Genshin Impact character,
"That's no good."
Next is the status in enchantments. You can't do enchantments without an enchanting table, and this is true. Until update 1.4 introduced anvils and enchantment books.
"That's no good."
You were able to enchant your tools with books you've gotten from stronghold libraries, making enchantments less locked behind a diamond paywall. But since the most renewable method of obtaining these books was through an enchanting table, diamonds still kept up with the demands and still had a monopoly on the enchantment sector. until update 1.14 Village and Pillage added librarians.
That's no good.
Why go through the hassle of mining 2 diamonds and then having to cycle through multiple bad enchantments just to get the one you want? And sometimes still get an additional enchantment you didn't ask for, when you can simply trade with a few librarians to get the enchantments you want for as little as 1 to 10 emeralds. But this update wasn't done. 1.14 also added toolsmiths, weaponsmiths, and armorers.
That's no good.
These villagers allowed you to stockpile on diamond equipment for as cheap as 1 emerald, dealing another massive blow to the rarity of diamonds. Players could obtain diamond equipment very easily and very reliably at very early stages of their survival world, then enchant them just as easily with the help of a librarian, never having to step foot in a cave. Why spend time working hard in a coal mine when you can exploit child labor and have sweatshops to create your highly desired products at a disgustingly but legally cheap price? But this all would have been fine. This could have been okay. This wouldn't have been the end of Diamond's legacy because they were still the best. They were still the top of the line, best of the best resources for equipment. And then in 1.16, Mojang added netherite.
Stop! He's already dead!
Possibly the most devastating blow to Diamond's reputation of all. Diamonds were now second place in terms of quality, removing the final reason as to why everyone thought diamonds were legendary. Netherite now had superiority and was simply better than the supposed best resource today. Long gone from the days of full diamond gear, netherite was much rarer, requiring 4 ancient debris as well as 4 gold ingots for 1 netherite ingot, utterly usurping diamonds of their rare and quality statuses. Later that update, they further increased the chances of finding diamonds in Bastion chests, as if it needed that already. This video may come off as very negative. Well, because it is. But I don't want the main takeaway to be that Mojang ruined diamonds, or iron and gold ruined diamonds, or diamonds ruined diamonds, because the last one sounds absolutely ridiculous. In fact, the main takeaway I like to say is the importance of updates and the importance of new content. I had a discussion with my brother the other day about the state of Minecraft. He argued that Minecraft was being too complicated and that Mojang was adding too many features into the game. While I definitely see his point of view, I have to respectfully disagree. It was the addition of new rules, new recipes, and new ways of obtaining iron and gold that made them hold onto their important roles in Minecraft today. While the legendary status of diamonds is irreparable, they could still use a bit of love from Mojang for new recipes and new uses. Perhaps that's all Mojang needs to do to make us excited for diamonds once again. But truthfully speaking, they will never rise back to the status that they once were. Because a fourth secret reason as to why diamonds eventually fell off has to do with us, the player base. Players simply got better as time went on, discovering alternatives to diamonds. You don't need diamond pickaxes for obsidian to make a portal when all you need is an iron bucket. You don't need durable, unbreakable tools when mending exists and is much easier to obtain, and you don't need diamond armor if you don't even have the skills to put it to good use. Even if Mojang adds a new use, we the players have gotten creative enough that we may just find a way around it somehow, and that's just the unfortunate reality for diamonds.